Hoi there, it's Skyward Shield. Welcome to Football Talks. I am joined by Bill. Say hello, Bill.
Hey, hey!
The regular season's in the books. All 12 teams have been locked in, and I could not be as enthusiastic as I should be. And I think we could just jump in and get into why. Let's start in Houston, where I felt like I was watching the clown car from last year make its ugly appearance once again as Tom Savage left with a concussion for a bit. He was cleared to enter, but for some reason Bill O'Brien wanted to stick with Osweiler. I feel like O'Brien is trying to get himself fired because, look, I understand the whole shit. We remember with Prescott and Romo in the past, which we're going to talk about Romo later, because we can never stop talking about him. Although this time it's a good reason. It seems like O'Brien is forcing himself to use Osweiler because that guy has all this fucking money. If you don't get any value out of him, he's going to be an absolute bust, and he's gonna act like it's his fault because the owner will not take blame for signing Osweiler, even though it was he who banged the table and said, "Hey, go get me a quarterback this year, or you're fired. Forget about next season. I don't care if you win the division again. You're gonna get fired because we don't have a good quarterback." And that's what they did. They got Osweiler, and now it's become the biggest bust since Ryan Leaf. The difference was Ryan Leaf was a rookie, so you didn't have to pay him $72 million.
Oh, back then, yes, you did.
I'd rather pay Dak Prescott $72 million over this. In fact, I know the Texans could have gotten Prescott too, but whatever. Anyway, the Texans faltered to the Titans. What was it? What was the score again? I'm kind of forgetting the score.
I think
24-17.
Yeah, it was somewhere in that range.
For a while, the Texans' offense, it was just so stagnant. The first half, they were averaging like 1.4 on the ground and then 1.8 in passing. It was disgusting. That was so stagnant. I felt like, okay, there were 2 games this week, and this is why I feel so angered and so bothered still, thinking about yesterday. Because that was 2 games I saw were some of the most boring and aggravating things I've ever seen. And Houston was the start of ruining my day. Because I could not stand seeing this offense move the ball. Alfred Blue can't do much on his own. The right line is a mess, and I really miss Lamar Miller. But even so, with him, I still don't think we have a good running dynamic because he is not a workhorse. I can understand why Miami didn't use him that much, because he's not that type of player. He's not an Ezekiel Elliott, he's not a DeMarco Murray, who you can just hand the ball 3 times in a row and he's still good to go. He is not like that. That's why I kind of hate that the Texans chose Tyler Irving in the draft. Maybe they should have got somebody who looked to be more dependable, some kind of like a Zach Zenner who you could just keep giving them the ball, and he's going to keep pounding the defensive line and moving players with him. I don't see that out of any of these guys. They don't have that back. And then the fact that they didn't have their fullback today, they didn't have Clowney today, they didn't have all these other players. I don't think they were resting some. I want to say they were resting Clowney for sure. Prosh apparently was dealing something with his hip, but he should be back for next week. I don't know why, but it's one thing if they were resting their players, but they didn't even rest everybody. They only rested a few. They didn't do what the Steelers did and rest Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. They didn't do that. They let everyone come out to play except for a few people. And I don't know how you fucking did so bad against the Titans. The Titans' defense is no slouch, I'll give it that. It's not a bad defense. It is, quite frankly, above average. I don't think top 10, but at least top 16, above that middle of the road type of group. And their offense, I can't believe they made Matt Castle look like a consistent quarterback. The defense, AJ Boye is a good nickel corner. He can play well, he can cover well, he sticks close. However, this is also his biggest problem, because it seems every week he has a holding call, he has a pass interference call. Hell, that one interception that Quinn Demps got, that shouldn't have counted. Because guess what? AJ Boye was doing a pass interference. That should have been a pass interference. I'm glad it didn't get called, but even I know that should have been a call. That should have been a flag thrown against the Texans. That should not have happened, and yet it did. The refs missed it. That's too bad. But still, I think that's some worry because I think AJ Boye might be slapped on with the franchise tag, possibly. Maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, overall, like you said, you know, the Houston Texans defense made Matt Castle look like a freaking, top 10 quarterback. And the other thing is they let a rookie running back run all over them too. It wasn't like, it wasn't a Texans game of old. It was sort of like, oh, well, here comes Osweiler, and it seemed like the team just deflated after he came out. It seemed like the team refused to play with Brock Osweiler.
I don't think they wanted to play even with Savage. This team, I feel like, is so on the verge of collapsing for reasons that aren't on their own shoulders. It's just on Osweiler's, and it's on the coaching staff and the GM. It's all on them, and that is why I will not be surprised if Hopkins does not want to re-sign with the Texans after next year. He's still locked in for another year because they exercised his fifth-year option, but I don't think he'll want to come back. They could offer him all the money they have left, but it's not going to work. I don't think he wants to stay at this rate.
I mean, you saw his sideline demeanor. He was sort of shaking his head on the sideline. That he was visibly upset by that performance.
I can't say I blame him.
And really, the Texans need to make him the happiest guy on earth. He's had a down year, but it's no fault of his own. It's Brock Osweiler who can't give him the football.
There's another big problem which I mentioned earlier, and I've mentioned it since last week. But this right side of the line, you know what I can see doing? Normally, I think it's Bruce Irvin, the guy that the Raiders have, since the Raiders are going to play the Texans on Saturday. It's the first playoff game, which, good riddance, get the garbage one out of the way, because without Derek Carr, that playoff game is about as boring as a preseason game. Because they're playing nothing but backup-worthy quarterbacks against the rest of the first team on defense. That's it. That's how weird it is. It feels like you're playing your backup players on offense versus the first team on defense.
Right.
But anyway, the right side it's what led to Savage giving up a fumble. I think O'Brien was waiting for Savage to fuck up and cause a turnover, whether it's his fault or not. Whether it was his fault or not, I think O'Brien was waiting. Okay, I can put Osweiler back in because I need for this guy to show some promise because I don't want to lose my job. People have been speculating for a few days now that even though the Texans make the playoffs, if they get embarrassed, especially by the Raiders with Matt McGloin, who might not even play, we might see Connor Cook, Phil. We might actually see him. I know you've had memories of seeing him in college football.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And if Connor Cook, who is so unpolished, he's got a good arm, but he is unpolished, he's still not entirely familiar with Del Rio's system, if he can put up points and beat this Texans defense, I don't see why they should keep O'Brien. I don't think it's his fault. And if it happens, I already have that rant prepared, and I've highlighted it. It's not entirely on him, but at the end of the day, I can understand why they're firing him. I will be fine with it as long as McNair admits that he should not have signed Brock Osweiler either so hastily or with that much money. If he can admit to his mistake, I will not shame him for his firing of O'Brien. But if he doesn't, and he admits that if he still is convincing himself that Osweiler is the guy, oh boy, I'm going to rip that fucker a new one. And I would gladly want to take that ownership over him. I'm not saying I know every fucking answer to make this Texans team better, but the first thing I can tell you is that I should not pick a quarterback who only has 6 games in his belt as a starter in the NFL.
Right. And gets labeled as a better quarterback than Peyton Manning when he's a backup for a reason. You know, and the issue is I think just like every quarterback in the NFL, there's a reason why you get rid of someone. And the only reason why great quarterbacks leave their team is one, they're old, two, they have a significant injury that they feel like they're never going to play again, or three, a combination of the two. And that's really the only reason why you get rid of a quarterback. Or maybe four, they've had some headbutting issues with the organization. Sort of like Brett Favre in Green Bay. That's the only reason you get rid of a Hall of Fame or any quarterback in the NFL.
Any
You
good
either
quarterback, I'd
ride
put.
or die with your quarterback.
Yeah, and I can't side with this guy. I don't know how his character is, but I think it. I would not side with him solely for how he plays on the field. It is not viable, and I don't even know if Savage is the guy either. I'm starting to lose hope in that. I'm not going to talk myself anymore into that. If he gets the
Right.
starting job next year, good, because that means you get the preseason reps, and then you'll get the beginning of the season where everybody
I'm
feels green on the field, and that's how you can pick it up. But unless that happens, the other thing they need to do is work on that line. I really don't know what they should do with their first pick in the draft. I think they're going to get knocked out first, and as a result, they're going to be the, what is it, 26 team? Draft number, I
Yeah.
think 26 through 32 are solely the playoff teams.
Well, I think it's like
24?
there's 12. There's 12. So 32 minus 12, 20. They would be 20
20?
or
Wow.
21. 21.
Okay, so yeah, around there, I would probably want to be. I'd probably want to. What is it? I would probably want to see if there is a QB there. I might consider taking him and then pick a right tackle of the second round of the draft, and we'll
Right.
see. Other than that, I'll just get a really good right tackle in the first round because at least that
Well,
can maybe help your line better.
there's always that one player that drops into the 20s that no one believes is going to be there. I mean,
Yeah,
Aaron
you could
Rodgers
have your.
dropped into the 20s.
So basically, I'm hoping for another Laramie Tunsil incident. However, that probably won't work for the Texans, as McNair has this strict policy of never getting players with questionable backgrounds.
Right.
So that's why I don't know if you know this. Fun fact: the Texans back when Watt was on the table. Do you know Aldon Smith? He was playing with the 49ers. Now he's supposed to be with the Raiders, but then he still got caught with drugs and he's awaiting reinstatement, which Goodell refuses to even think about. Which I think Goodell's just being stupid again. But disregarding that, the Texans originally wanted him. And it was two things that were the reason why the Texans chose. Guess who they chose that year instead of Aldon Smith? Do you want to guess?
Who?
J.J. Watt.
No, damn.
They could have chosen Aldon Smith, but McNair, and especially Wade Phillips made 2 points. McNair pointed about his character. He was already being hinted at as having some drug issues, so McNair was a bit against it. However, he doesn't make the final decision all the time. Sometimes Rick Smith would have done it, and Rick Smith would have finalized it if not for Wade Phillips hammering the table and insisting that J.J. Watt would be better than Aldon Smith. And with enough persuasion, he chose J.J. Watt instead.
Right. And look at how that turned out.
So who knows? Maybe they'll pick some other player. I just want some right tackle that's as good as, actually, basically how the Titans did, fix their right side with Jack Conklin, who was a really good right tackle for them, who played really good in that game as well. They should pick up a player like that if one makes it that far. Here's the worst thing:
Right.
the Titans have 2 first-round picks. They're going to get
Yeah.
a wide receiver in that first round. Hell, they could get 2.
They need all the help that they can get.
Exactly. They're going to get the Rams first round pick, and then they're going to have their own, which is around 16, 17.
Right.
So,
So they're going to have a top 10 pick, and they're going to have a in the top 15, top 17
and
as
if they
well.
really want to, they could trade that first round pick for another pick next year. If they think all we need is a wide receiver in the first round, and then we can supplement maybe next year because there might be another play. You could just sucker a bad team, not like the Browns. I don't think the Browns will want more first round picks because they already have two as well. But you could sucker another team like the Chargers, take their pick, and if they play bad again next year, well, guess what? You have another early first round pick.
Right. I mean, it's I think Tennessee will use their picks this year.
I know they're going to get a wide receiver.
Both of
I
them.
think they're going to trade with a stupid team like the 49ers, who may want more than just a quarterback. I don't know what they'll do for it, but, if you want to sucker bad teams who it's like, okay, there's no hell and way they're going to get any lower than a top 10. I'll give up mine now, and probably get one. I'll get the one next year. You could almost create an endless cycle of getting extra first round picks until you find the need. Hey, I see two good players that I could maybe get this year. So now I have two picks for that. Bam, get them both, reap the rewards. GG. The
Yep.
AFC South belongs to the Titans for the next 10 years. Because Bill,
Very
the Titans are
possible.
really close to being a division champion and possibly beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, it really all depends what happens with Mariota.
Yeah, people think he's feeling like the next Romo. On one podcast I listened to, they made a very good point because Bill, remember Stafford, how he had his arm broken by the Cleveland Browns, and then next
Yep.
year he got it. I think he got another injury, out for the year, and now look at him, he's almost an Iron Man. He won't go down.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
Mariota, assuming if he can just avoid it if he can avoid it for 1 year, he might have something similar to Stafford, where and especially because his line is getting better by the year.
Yep.
Because the Titans have
Exactly.
I think, a top 8 offensive line, as shown evident in this game. It'll happen, and yeah, it'll be a tough time for Houston to win the division. But long story
Right.
short, I want Houston to draft either a right tackle. I would prefer that. If there's a QB out there, take him. You cut Brandon Weeden. Either you let him chill in the back, or you start him day one and give him the Derek Carr treatment, where you keep him playing no matter what until either A, you produce results, and you have to neglect all the noise, including what I think. So I would, if they get
Exactly.
a quarterback the first round, I'm gonna have to bite the bullet for the next 2 or 3 years, whether he's good or bad, unless he is literally Ryan Leaf's reincarnation. I'm gonna have to just wait patiently until that guy makes the leap. Because if Derek Carr, because everyone's like, oh, Blake Bortles, my favorite Blake Bortles, so good for my fantasy team, putting up all these points in garbage time. He is the best quarterback in that draft. No, it's Teddy Bridgewater, who, to be fair, he busted his knee. I think he might also have been great. So until then, let's just wait till if he comes back. But
Right.
everyone was so sucked into the hype of him, Blake, and then of course Johnny Manziel. But guess what? Guess who turned out to be the best of all of them so far? Derek Carr. He's out for the year, but I don't care. I still think he's better than. I think he's better than Blake by far. He's better than
He's
Bridgewater. He's better than Johnny Manziel. Hell, I think he's even better than his seniors, the Winston and Mariota.
right. I mean, uh, to be fair, I think of all the young quarterbacks in the league, you know, excluding Russell Wilson because he exists in a
I'd say
he
he's a veteran
exists in
now.
a yeah. I wouldn't call him a new player anymore. The 2 to 3 year quarterbacks, you know, anything under 3 years. Derek Carr is by far the best, hands down,
I
of those
still kick Houston
quarterbacks.
for not picking him. I still
I
do.
mean, I mean, they 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 made their decision. It's difficult when you are burned by a previous decision.
I think it's
You know,
difficult when they were just so biased because he's the brother of another car that gave them a bad start.
I mean, they were an expansion team then.
Do you
it
think they'll blame
to
themselves for that? Like, let's be honest. Do you think teams will blame, oh, we were an expansion team at that point. Let's just let that slide. No. Every team
I
feels like
mean,
they could win the Super Bowl, even the even the 1-15 Browns.
I feel like it's idiotic to expect a Super Bowl in your first year of existence.
Yeah. Well, the only one who did it in the fastest time of their existence was the Ravens. But to be fair,
Right.
that could have been the
But
Browns thing, and they would never have those
that
woes.
well, they were the Browns. That was I don't consider them an expansion team,
Yeah,
but the in technicalities, they were technically an expansion team, quote unquote.
they're bad. But anyway, Bill, let's move on. I've spent too much time talking about the Texans. I really don't care who they start this week. I think they're just going to put Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin on the right side and blitz the ever loving shit out of them, and then Chris Clark and what's his name? Oh well, whatever. Both right tackle and right guard are going to get demolished. In fact, Khalil Mack might be able to push them by himself and still reach whoever starts. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. I think the Texans deserve to get out of the playoffs because the Titans to me felt like more of a playoff ready team than Houston. And
Oh,
I don't even think JJ Watt can save them, even if he could come in today. I don't think he could. I'm glad he's out because he did not deserve to be here where he could probably get himself worsened.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on. I'm done with this clown car. Let's go to another QB carousel, but this time, for once, I can't believe it. This was about as to me as unlikely as the Browns winning a game, but since the Browns won a game, I guess anything is possible this year because Romo got actually a drive to himself, and he scored the team's only touchdown. The Colts, or not Colts, why am I thinking Colts? The Cowboys lost to the Eagles 27-13, but did anybody really care? Did anybody
No.
honestly care that they lost?
No. No.
I don't even
The
think the
only
most what.
people that the only people that did care that they lost were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because the Buccaneers needed the Cowboys to win for their for their playoff hopes to stay alive.
Oh wow! So the Lions could have missed the playoffs if that happened.
I mean, the Bucks needed the Cowboys to win. They needed Detroit to win. They needed a bunch of different
Oh yeah,
teams to win. They
they were
needed
they were this
Indianapolis
year's
to win.
Colts.
Yeah, they needed a bunch of teams to win, and then the Washington game to end in a perfect tie
Oh
to
yeah,
make
they
the
needed a
playoffs.
tie, and that couldn't happen. Washington disappointed me, but I guess it's for the best that they lost.
But yeah, that uh, legit, that was the only team that was like, oh, they really needed Dallas to win this game.
Yeah. Anyway, Bill, let's get to this. Let's talk about Romo because honestly, we won't be spending too much time here. Ezekiel Elliott didn't even
Right.
do anything, which is fine. They rested him. They gave him basically 2 weeks, and I was so glad to see Romo. In every throw
Right.
he made, he took a shot. He did not care. He did not give any fucks. He wanted to score points, and that's what he did. And he scored more points than Dan Bailey did, who got only 6 points for himself. So he got 7 for them. Well, technically, Dan Bailey got the extra point, but hey. Anyway,
Right.
so I was so glad to see him just take shots, give it to Darren McFadden, throw it to Des Bryant, throw it to Terrence Williams. That, to me, Bill, when I saw that and that there's still that chemistry, it just makes me think this wasn't Dak Prescott's team. I'm gonna sound like a Prescott hater for these next few minutes, but just Cowboys fans who might get bitchy, just fucking hear me out because this team, if any of those players say this is Prescott's team, this has always been, they're dead wrong. They're not lying to you because they want to. They know deep inside that this was meant to be. This whole team was built for Romo to make this one run to the Super Bowl and bring it home to Dallas. That's what this team was built for. That's why you got players. That's why you got that offensive line. That's why you got Ezekiel Elliott. You got them for Romo. Prescott was meant to succeed him a few years down the line. Because he plays so well this year, it's all fine. And Dallas just shoved him out of the way, didn't give a shit. But hey, like I said, if the Browns could win a game this year, I guess anything is possible in the NFL because Romo got one drive, he got his touchdown. I could not be any more happier for him. I'm glad they gave him a drive to himself. But still, it doesn't change the fact how I really feel about Dallas as a whole organization towards him. They didn't care for him, really. They did not show any respect for him. They wanted to keep him. They just wanted him to just not take. I wouldn't say not retake the helm, because I understand Prescott was playing great. But, like I said, this was Romo's team. I would have stuck with him anyway. I still would have stuck with him despite Prescott being good. Why? Because I think that this was built for him, and as such, it is his job to lead. Unless he showed from like when he comes in, unless he showed he wasn't playing good, which looking at this one drive doesn't look like that would have been the case. I wouldn't give the keys back to Dak. I don't know, Bill. I'm just glad to see Romo get one last drive as a Cowboy because barring an injury, I don't think you'll see him in a Cowboys uniform on the field ever again.
Nope. That was his last drive in Dallas. And I think they did that on purpose. He probably would have kept playing until he scored some points. Had he not scored any points, I think they wanted to give him one final drive as a Dallas Cowboy that scored some points in a Cowboys uniform. And whenever he did that, then they would have taken him out. But overall, I'll put it this way. Tony Romo has had numerous opportunities to win championships. They've had 13-3 years. They had a really good year with Terrell Owens, and they were there a few times. They just never had the team built around.
And now it's mostly
him.
complete. I still don't see the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl if the Patriots show up.
The issue with the Cowboys and what it's always been, even when they were 13-3 with Dez, or not with Dez, but with Terrell Owens, was their defense. And their defense has consistently been a problem, and it's been a problem for the last 7 years.
It's the secondary.
It's not gotten any better.
This time it's the secondary, whereas last year it was the whole fucking package. Because the whole team was out for suspension or injury.
Right, exactly.
But now the team is clean, and the secondary is the only thing hindering them. But
I still think, Jerry Jones needs to draft corners and safeties.
yeah, well, guess what, Bill? There are plenty of corners in the draft this year, so surely, just like the Lions, there should be one that makes it into their laps.
Exactly. I mean, that's what they really need, and they're and the other thing is their offensive line is just getting older as it goes.
It's been a concern, but I mean they're drafting some late round pick ones, and they're getting reps right now. But good news is that the line should be back together by the time their first playoff games happens.
Right. I mean, as they age and they start putting a lot of wear and tear on their bodies, that offensive line is not going to be what it used to be. I think the younger these guys are, the better chance that they have, going forward. And as they age, they're going to start losing their quickness, and they're going to get more statuesque back there, and it's more akin to Dak Prescott's play style, where he can escape the pocket, and so it makes sense to have Dak starting this year and moving forward.
Yeah, although if that's why they're fortunate that Lyle Collins didn't get drafted at all. Because to be honest, if I were a GM with the seventh round pick, I would have gone for Lyle Collins because honestly, they did it as a precautionary thing because they go, what if there is an off chance he is a criminal and was a murderer? But you know what? If everyone was saying it's very unlikely he's one that he would have been marked as one, I would have picked him up. I don't know why. I would kick every other team that did not go for him. Technically, I'd go for Dallas too, but he picked Dallas because he said, I've always wanted to be a Cowboy. So he got what he wished for. Because for a draft, for a player who has that type of talent and can go literally wherever he wants, because if you're a first round pick and you weren't picked at all, and you could go wherever you want, and you say, hey, I always liked you when I was growing up, can I sign for your team? You damn right they're gonna say yes, unless you're a quarterback and they have fucking Peyton Manning on their roster, they're gonna take you. Why would they not? You're a first round pick. You're getting signed for very little money. Where could it go wrong? Unless you're Cleveland, but I mean, I can't think of many people who want to go play for Cleveland right now.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, the last thing I'll say about with Romo, when I saw the teammates just all rallying around him after he scored the touchdown, it was probably the last smile I'll have for Dallas for a couple of weeks now. Because I have been a Romo fan. I am dedicated to supporting him, and wherever he goes, I hope he'll do well. I don't know where he'll go. Bill, you want me to be honest despite how unlikely it is? It's more likely he'll go to Denver or to New York or to the Jets, I mean, to be specific. I would really love if he went to Houston. Just sign a 1-year deal and maybe, because I don't think Houston will go for a quarterback in the first round. I really like for them to, but I just don't think Rick Smith has the fucking balls to do it.
I mean, I could see Romo in Houston very easily.
Yeah, I would like for him to go there, sign a 1-year deal, see where it goes, and if not, if he gets hurt, then just start Tom Savage or just start some other quarterback you drafted maybe if you get one.
Right, it's not like you haven't been through that before.
Yeah, and if you're signing him for a 1 year, if it doesn't look well, then just don't even bring him back. Although, the only one caveat is that, like I say, that right side of the line is shit. But if you're drafting first round, your first round pick is a right tackle, it's all okay.
Right.
Or that's what I think. But anyway, let's move on. We're done with the Cowboys for 2 weeks, and let's talk about another team who we will not talk about for the next 2 weeks, this week and next week. But it's the New England Patriots, the throne of ease. All they needed to do was win, and they'd lock up the first seed and have home field advantage. And out of all the times they've made a Super Bowl run, this could not be the easiest one. Because look at the AFC, Bill. Is there any team in the playoffs right now in the AFC that looks threatening to them at all? Like, seriously, Bill, I want you to make a case for one team. Just try. Just try for me, Bill.
Alright, so the only team that I could see them losing to is Kansas City. And for the simple fact that I think they have an explosive playmaker in Tyreek Hill.
He's a wife beater, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
I love how the NFL glosses over that after they had that episode with the, Ray Rice, who clearly decked his wife. Oh, that's a 2-game suspension. Right. I guess Tyreek Hill, all he does is get like a slap on the wrist. Because there's no video proof of it. But hey, whatever.
Right.
Sorry about that, Bill.
The Kansas City defense is pretty good. I mean, they would have a difficult time matching up. Overall, Kansas City has a decent amount of weapons. Really, their running game is an issue. But overall, of all the teams in the AFC side, they're the most complete team to take on the most complete team in the NFL.
Yeah,
and the most complete
honestly,
team in the NFL is New England.
And Bill, I already have a counter for that. If you said Pittsburgh, I would have had a counter for that too. And I'll give you the Chiefs counter. They're so inconsistent. I know they finished strong, but let's look at their losses. Who did they lose to in the season? And honestly, who they lost to, I think, speaks to a lot of how they are a team that's just one step away from being there, for being a real contender. I can't trust this team, Bill. You want to know? You want to know who they lost to? Okay, first, I mean, they got blown out by the Steelers, and I think that's worth considering. However, this time it's gonna when they play each other, it's going to be in Arrowhead, and it's going to definitely be a different game. So that's something to note. But at the same time, guess who they lost to in Arrowhead? You lost to the Bucks, and you lost to the Titans. Now I say the Titans are a better team, but in that game, they had so many times to put it away against the Titans, and they fucking sat on the ball. Andy Reid
Right.
is like, sometimes he feels like one of the greatest coaches that's not Bill Belichick, and then another week he looks like a fucking idiot who doesn't know what he's doing. Like he's a deer in the headlights. And then the
Right.
last game, this is the one I want to talk about. You lost to the Texans in week 2 to Brock Osweiler.
I mean, I'll bring up the, but at that point of the season, they didn't have Justin Houston. They didn't have the running game that they have right now because they were trying to get Jamal Charles going again.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
actually,
mean,
no, because in the first week, Bill, you want to know what looked promising? Spencer Ware and Tyreek Hill.
yep.
Spencer
I
Ware
mean,
was he helped jumpstart the comeback against the Chargers that week. Although to be fair, the Chargers, if they're good at one thing, it's blowing fourth quarter leads.
right.
So I will
I,
give them that at least.
I would just say that from week 2 to week 17 is a whole different thing. You know, the amount of injuries that Kansas City had going into the season compared to how they're healthy now,
Yeah, but
you
I
know,
still have to say,
they have a better shot.
you lost to the Bucks and then the Titans.
Oh yeah, you know, I mean, it is what it is. You know,
Yeah,
they
but
they
that's why I
lost
say I
it.
can't trust them. But
Oh yeah.
anyway, let's talk about Tom Brady because Bill, he threw 3 touchdowns and no picks. He actually has the record now for the best touchdown to interception ratio. He had I think he has an average of 2 interceptions in the whole season.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy. This guy is somehow getting better as he gets older, which is
I mean, what?
fascinating. This guy is, I mean, Bill, to people who still think that he is nowhere near being the GOAT, I have to ask, with stats like those, I get we have to adjust to the era. But come on. In this era, that is about as great as you can ever ask for.
With the amount of times he's throwing the football comparative to anyone else in the game, you know, not only I mean he's still throwing the ball sometimes 30 times a game, you know, and the issue is you know, he's only got 2 picks. He I would make the case that it's a two-person race for MVP right now, and that's Matt Ryan and Tom Brady.
Yeah, but I think you and I both agree Matt Ryan deserves it more.
Oh yeah,
Because here's the
definitely.
thing, Matt Ryan isn't even that far behind Tom Brady. He's thrown more picks, but at the same time he's got the ball, he's spread the ball around even better than Brady, which that's very impressive. And then to top that off, you had a couple of historic games for Matt Ryan with Julio Jones. And even
Oh
without
yeah,
Julio
yeah.
Jones, it's like the thing that makes this year so good for Brady and Ryan is that they've lost their number one weapons for points of the season. Well, in Brady's case, for the rest of the year, but you lost Julio Jones for half, not for a quarter of the season. And what did you do in that quarter? You didn't skid out of the playoff hunt. You fucking made teams like the Rams look like what they are meant to look like, jokes. You made them look like scrubs who look like they belonged in college football. That is what a
Right.
good quarterback does to bad teams. You drop the bomb on them and you make them wish they never existed. That's what you do, and that's what Matt Ryan did. But as for Brady, 3 touchdowns and he made some really good ones, like one to Edelman and then to Bennett at the beginning of the game. It was quite the sight, if you ask me.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
even without Gronk, I think one of the best signings of free agency was Bennett because they were prepared for this. It's like, okay, if we lose Gronk, we'll have Bennett. and it'll feel
Right.
like we never lost anything at all. It'll feel like we were when we beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
I mean, they're 14-2 for a reason, and you know, it sort of showed you the dichotomy of talent in the
And
AFC.
let's not forget,
There's my
this is the only team that has won all their games on the road this year
right. I mean, if you look, I mean, look at they just beat a playoff team by 21
in
points.
their stadium.
You know, in their stadium. I mean, and theoretically, if Miami wins, they could be playing New England as their next playoff game,
Yeah,
and they already lost to them by 21.
yeah. But I digress. I think that it's just incredible how Brady plays so well, Bill. But I don't think there's much else that needs to be said about this game. All I say is I'll
Nah.
see them in another week or so, because for now they've earned their rest so comfortably. Like there was
Oh
not
yeah.
when the Chiefs lost and dropped a game to the Titans. That was it. When that happened, and then also the injury to Derek Carr, it's like there's no way anyone could beat the Patriots this year in the AFC. I mean,
Right.
that's what I thought. Like, okay, that's it. The AFC's been locked up. It belongs to the Patriots once again. But yeah, anyway, let's move on, Bill. It was nice talking about these nice things, but now let's go back and make me hate this day
Uh,
because what?
oh, I have a few things that
But
need to
let's
come
get
out.
into it, Bill. Let's get into the Detroit Lions game, Sunday Night Football, their first Sunday Night Football game of the year. All you need to do, win, you get the division crown, and then you'd host the Giants. But if you lose, you go to the clink, which honestly it feels like you're trying to avoid the death penalty because going to the clink is never fun. Whether you win or lose, it is never fun. Teams who win in the clink, it always feels like you fought a war to get out of there alive, and you're not coming out unscathed. So guess what, Bill? All the Lions need to do beat the Packers. Don't hang with Aaron Rodgers, and we'll all be good. What happens? Ay ay ay! The defense laid on the floor, let Aaron Rodgers run all over them and throw all over them, and you get this. You get the score of 31-24. I shouldn't be surprised. And also, I have to say, congratulations, Bill, because you counterpicked against the Lions. You actually made me blow my 5-game lead over you in the picks segment, and now you have won for the second year in a row by one. How does that
Oh,
make you feel, Bill?
well, to be fair, if I would have lost uh, the pick segment and won this game, I would have been happy. You know,
Yeah,
but you know,
I still need to make sure, but if I recall, the difference was I got the Carolina Tampa Bay game right because you picked the Panthers, I picked the Bucks, but I believe what also decided it was you picking the Giants, while I picked the Washington Football Team.
right.
So, and that
I mean,
is what that has won you the game. I will still need to check over it. At worst, at best for me, we tied, but at worst,
right.
you win. I'll need to check. We can end in a tie because of those two games that were tied. By the way,
Those stupid ass ties that should not exist in the
because
NFL.
if one of them was a tie, we actually would have had a winner no matter what. But because there were two, it is still possible for us to tie. But I'll need to make sure. But I'm gonna assume you won. We'll see. I just have to make sure of my math later when I edit. But yes, as things stand, Bill, at the very minimum, I didn't win. So yeah. Anyway,
Oh
Bill.
man.
Okay. Enough of that. Let's get into the game. Share your thoughts, Bill.
All right. So it was a very Jim Caldwell Lions game. And what I mean by that is that the Lions came out in the first half and played a great football game against Aaron Rodgers. They came out, they played great defense against him. They held a lead. They were playing good offense. They were running the football. They were doing everything right against the Packers. Then halftime hits. And we start the second half, and the Jim Caldwell effect takes over, where the Lions don't come out and play another half of football. They just flat out don't play a second half of football under Jim Caldwell. And I don't know what it is about the man that allows other teams to just go all over the place on us. One other issue I have, and I like Jim Bob Cooter. Jim Bob Cooter is a good
Hey,
offensive
Bill. Hey,
coordinator.
Bill. I gotta stop you there. I just gotta tell you this. Very important. I like that
Okay.
Cooter. I like that
Yeah.
Cooter. I'm gonna
Oh
tell you
yeah.
my thoughts on what I should do with Cooter, but I'll let you finish that sentence.
I like Jim Bob Cooter as the offensive coordinator. The one flaw he has as the offensive coordinator is he goes away from the run. Even when it's working. Zach Zenner was running the football down
Hey,
Green
but
Bay's
let's be
throat.
fair. Let's be fair. The Packers were putting points on them, and that's not on him. That's on the defense, which I know this coordinator is doing wonders for this defense, but I feel like some say he might leave to go to another team, and honestly, I would be fine with that because when we're done with this game, we're going to talk about some retirements and some firings.
The
But yeah, I
the
I just want to point that out. But go ahead, finish what you're saying because I want to mention what
the
I think about the about Cooter and what I think he should do next year.
the issue I have is that you have Aaron Rodgers on the other sideline. And what is the easiest way to keep him off the field? Is the long drives that you run the football and pick up. Even if you're picking up 2 yards, it still gives you the threat of the run, and you're not throwing the football, and it keeps that clock churning. You keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, and you convert third downs and make it 3rd and 3. You know, 3rd and 3 is an easy pass to a tight end or something. Run the football on first or second down. Keep the clock moving. Eat time away from Aaron Rodgers. The easiest way to keep your defense off the field is to run the football, and the Lions were running the football effectively. And when they were effectively running the football in the first half, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers had 10 points. And we were winning that game. When we were not running the football and we were throwing every down, and we just consistently allowed Green Bay onto the field, they scored 21 points on us, and we lost the game. So I what the Lions needed to do in the second half was do what they were doing in the first half, but change it up. Change your scheme up where you're using new runs like stretch runs or
What
screens.
I would
You
think,
know,
what I would
change
think
it
is if
up.
you're gonna speed up, if you're gonna score touchdowns faster, just give the ball away so fast. I would at least say you're gonna give Aaron Rodgers the ball in like 2 minutes. At least run, run. What is it? You run high tempo offense and tire out that defense until it doesn't even want to stand anymore. If you're gonna go out the field real quick, at least do that. At least tire that defense, make them want to get out of the field, which in return makes them draw off sides, and then you get to free play and all that stuff. But anyway, Bill, do you mind if I take over for a bit? Because I have
Go ahead.
things to say as well. Because first, I would be okay with, because I don't believe in the Lions or the Texans at all. I think they should be eliminated from the playoffs because they deserve it. The Texans because their quarterback play is so inconsistent, whereas in the Lions' case, they need a run game, they don't have it, and they love sitting on leads. Because congrats, Detroit, you blew a 2-division lead over the Packers. You just needed to beat the Cowboys and the Giants, who have nothing to play for, and you would have been in. You would have haven't even concerned yourself with this game. This game didn't even need to be a worry to you. And here's the thing, the crowd was in full effect for the first half of the game. They actually did what they did the last time they went to the playoffs. They made teams get called for a delay of game because they couldn't hear their quarterbacks make the call to snap the ball. They were there for the first half. At the end of the game, the Packers fans sounded louder than the Lions. There's a reason why everybody says in the NFC North, every team, every other divisional rival for the Packers, their stadiums is essentially a second home, because there are Packers fans that will fill those stadiums up no matter how things are going, and it'll feel like it could be a home game for the Packers too.
I mean,
For the
the
past
other
few
issue
years,
is
Soldier
proximity.
Field has been a second stadium, a second Lambeau Field for the Packers, because every time they go there, they fucking own it like it's always been their place.
I mean, to be fair, from Green Bay to Detroit is a 7-hour drive. You know, it's
No,
nothing
but Bill,
crazy.
my point is that the Packers have been owning the NFC North for so long. It's like why you see a lot of Pats fans in Buffalo, New York, and Miami, because they own those places so easily that it's always worth the trip to go there, because typically the Packers, or the Patriots in this case is the example, will always win. So it's like normally you'd be hesitant to go to a road game, Bill. You know why? Because it's those are the games that aren't typically in your favor. You want to go to the home game where it's more likely they'll win and you get to go home a happy camper, right?
Right. I mean,
But anyway, I want to continue on, because I will be fine if the defensive coordinator's gone. I will be fine if Caldwell gets fired after this game. I don't know if he will, but if he does, I totally want Bob Quinn to make the move and go for Cooter as the head coach, because I don't see McDaniels leaving New England. I think he will stay until Belichick retires and become the successor for the Garoppolo era. That's at least what I think will happen. And, sure, you might think that's crazy, but you know what else we thought was crazy? Ben McAdoo for the Giants. Look where they're at. They literally bought themselves a defense, and it's paying dividends for them so far, especially if they beat the Packers in Lambeau. Then it definitely was worth the investment. The Lions don't have
right.
that cap space because they're going to have to pay Stafford soon, but hey, at least they need to work. They need to work so much on their defense, Bill, because I saw two plays in particular. I was like, oh no, Rodgers is going to do something good here. You know why? Because the Lions tried to blitz before he snapped the ball. There were two instances where the I think it was either the inside linebacker or the safety tried to blitz for them, and he would always still move and have to stop because the Packers didn't snap the ball yet. But because he stopped, he had to stop and forced himself to. It's like, okay, to Rodgers or any other smart enough quarterback, it's like, okay, they're going to blitz me. That means that I have a better chance at throwing the ball if I get rid of it quickly and just take a shot to one of my players, because they're going to be less likely to be covered and I will have some more open field. And one play in particular, it was that last touchdown that the Packers made. One tried to blitz down the middle. He almost got caught going off sides. He stopped himself, and Aaron Rodgers snaps the ball, throws it for a touchdown, easy touchdown at that. Because that safety could have been out there making Rodgers a bit more hesitant to throw, and because he made it dead clear that he was going to blitz because of his actions, that's why he took the shot.
I mean, uh, it's a fool's errand to blitz Aaron Rodgers. Just like Tom Brady, you don't blitz Tom Brady.
He's going to
You
make you
just
pay
don't.
unless you have last year's Denver Broncos.
Just like Peyton Manning, you don't blitz Peyton Manning. He's going to tear you apart if you blitz him. Just like you don't blitz Matthew Stafford either. You just don't. Because
The
he's just a
Lions
buy
missed
enough
so many
guy.
tackles, Bill. It was frustrating. If I played, I don't drink alcohol. Call me a fucking wimp if you want, but I don't drink alcohol. But if I did, I would be taking so many shots for how many missed tackles they made. I would have died in the middle of the fourth quarter. And that's because things got even worse in the fourth quarter. I would have died of too much alcohol in my blood because of how bad that was.
But that that's indicative of the coaching that they're getting on that side of the football. And that side of the football, is not what Jim Caldwell is known for. That's Terrell Austin. But overall, the issue is that Jim Caldwell ultimately is the deciding factor, because what he always does, and we always do it, is we play either a good first half or a good second half.
I
We either
agree.
have a good enough first half where we build such a lead that we just consistently give up enough points until it's like 21-17 and we win, or we are down so much and we come back in the second half because we didn't play a first half at all, and we come back from 21 down. It's never easy where we just play a game where we start the game 21 to nothing and we finish it 38 to 10.
Yeah, and
The closest thing to a complete game was last year against Philadelphia on Thanksgiving. That's the only complete game the Lions have ever played under Jim Caldwell.
well, I would add the
Ever.
Saints game from this year too,
I could agree with that. I could
because
agree with that.
they just spanked the Saints. That was a statement game, and I really wish they played every game week like that, because that one was like, okay, nobody believes in us. We need to make a statement. We
It's
need to prove that we're for real.
it's it's like the Lions have no fire, and
They've
they
never had a
did the
real fire
same
for
thing.
Caldwell. I think the offense has had a fire for Jim Bob Cooter, though. That's why I want him to be the coach, because he'll.
They do this.
What?
They did the same thing the entire last year when we got screwed over in the playoffs. We came out last year and we started 1-7 or 1-6. They had no fire, and
They got the fire with
you know
Cooter, but it's everywhere else that's a problem. I think the offense can be fine because I have to be fair. The Lions don't have a running game. If they did, this offensive attack could, I wouldn't say unstoppable, but at the very least it would be well beyond the middle of the road. It's a good
right,
offense, but without a run game, it's never going to be at its absolute peak. You see, there's
right,
a reason why the Packers had struggled for the midpoint of the season, because they didn't figure out how to run the ball. And if you have this no-name Ripkowski making you look like a fucking joke, who's a fullback and not a running back, mind you, you have problems. Which, again, goes to the missed tackles. But to be honest, Bill, this is why I don't believe in the Lions. You might pick in them to beat the Seahawks, and that's fine, I understand. But I can't talk myself into either supporting the Texans or the Lions, because these flaws are so gaping and obvious. I don't
right.
even need to ask a quarterback like Tom Brady to exploit them, because any decent enough quarterback can do it for me. And if you ask those top tier quarterbacks to do it, they're gonna make them look so bad. It would be like the Patriots playing the Cleveland Browns. It'd be such a joke of a watch, and I don't want to see that. So sorry about that, Bill, but I just don't believe in these Lions anymore, because they were 9-4 at one point, and now they lost every game. And I understand this was a hard last stretch of games for any team. Out of
Oh,
all the final three games, this was the hardest. But come on, if you're a true playoff team, you got to make that statement, win one of those at least.
but I'll leave an addendum to this, and I'll leave it at this: is the same thing happened with the Giants when they beat the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. They failed hardcore down the stretch, and they lost that final game, and Patriots went 16-0, and the Giants barely made the playoffs and went 9-7. And you know they just flipped the switch, and hopefully the Lions can flip the switch
I
and get
Without a run
healthy
game, Bill,
enough.
and without good cornerback play, I don't believe in it. I hope I'm wrong, Bill, for your sake, but I just don't believe in it. But I'd rather, between the two, Bill, I'll give you this. Between the two, I believe in the Lions more, because Matthew Stafford is so much better than Savage and Osweiler will ever be this year. But anyway, I think we'll leave it at that. Before we get to the picks, Bill, let's address a little bit of the firings, because as you know, before this week we had Rex Ryan get fired, which was a stupid idea to do it so soon, to do it so soon, because I don't think the Bills playing so bad was entirely his fault, because half of his defense was out for the year, and all
Right.
of his rookies were gone, because if all his rookies played, the defense might have been a much better one, and it wasn't that bad for part of the season.
Right.
Gus Bradley, as you know, got fired, which we already talked about that. And Jeff Fisher got fired, which so much for going 7 or 9, 9 and 7. Yeah, you know, Bill, I'll rate that firing from a 7 to 9. But then you had, well, for a retirement, this isn't a firing, but Gary Kubiak has retired for health reasons. You don't know what they are. We'll probably know about them in a few months, but
Probably his heart issues.
probably
You know,
he's not denying the possibility of returning. If anything, it feels like a hiatus more than a complete retirement. Well, it's all dependent on how he looks in the future, which he is young. I think he might have a shot to come back. Granted, the head coaching job for the Broncos will not be offered to him again unless he literally waits for the Broncos to have a really bad year in the future and then they just fire whoever the hell is out there at the time.
right.
But I will say, assuming you don't come back, I respect him as a coach. I didn't like him in Denver, but you know that's just because I don't like Denver, as you know. Worst fan base I gave them last year. But
Right.
anyway, what was I gonna say? Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. He is a good coach for them. He was a great coach in Houston. I still think he should have been fired because that was a really bad season. That was just a season you don't want to think about anymore. But hey, whatever.
Right.
That's why I think Wade Phillips will be gone too. And what I hope is, Bill, is that the Lions get rid of their defensive coordinator, or he just goes to some other team because some teams want him on the roster, though maybe not now, not anymore because of how bad they've been playing these past couple of weeks. But we'll see. And then you get Wade Phillips. I would think Wade Phillips, as long as he's not a head coach, he's a great coach. I would want him in there because he could make them play much more physical. Wade Phillips has always made sure to make players tackle better, which in this case they need desperately. And he'll bring out the best in all of these players. And who knows, you might get better players because, like I said, here's some things to note. Who did Wade Phillips get while he was in Dallas and Houston? Well, Wade Phillips picked up DeMarcus Ware when he was in Dallas. He actually helped make him one of the best defensive players that Dallas has ever had. And then, I think I told you this before we made the video or during, I'm not sure. No, it was here, but Wade Phillips was, of course, the guy who encouraged Houston to get J.J. Watt over Aldon Smith, which, if you know how Aldon Smith is doing right now, that was the smartest move you could have ever made. It makes that moment of drafting J.J. Watt all the more sweeter, because you could have got a drug-addicted wreck instead.
True.
So, good job. Houston was one of those teams who, like, you've ever hear about, oh, this team drafted this bust over this superstar.
Right.
Like, you could have that. You could have been in that situation. You don't want to be in that situation. But now,
Yeah.
but you didn't make that choice. You actually listened to your coach, and you let him you let him win his opinion over to you, and you made the better choice. J.J. Watt was the best choice you could have ever made in that draft, hands down. And wasn't that a very bad draft year anyway?
I think it was.
Oh, I'm not sure. I think that might have been one of the better ones because I think that's also when Cam Newton was drafted.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, I hope he gets better because I think Kubiak could still be a coach for another team. I don't know who he'll coach if he comes back, but we'll see. Anyway, the last coach that got fired, Bill. Oh boy, Chip Kelly. I'm gonna just spoil it right now. This year, when we get to our awards, I'm gonna award worst organization to the 49ers because they did it again. This time they also got rid of the GM, and I love how the owner says, you can't fire me because I'm the owner. You know, I wish I could because you're one of the stupidest owners. You're like, we need to hit the reset button and turn the page. We need to become a championship culture. Well, guess what? If you want proof, let's look at the Cleveland Browns on the other side of the country for yourself. If you want to see the complete opposite of a championship culture, you just keep firing coaches, you keep changing you just keep completely resetting the team entirely, wiping the slate every year, and just hoping something will stick, because they won't stick. As any good coach will tell you, you need to give a coach at least 3 to 5 years for them to leave a mark. If they leave some hopeful results, then you keep them. But if not, if things still don't look like they're going well, then you fire them. But you've been firing coaches for a year, for a year now. First you got rid of I forget that guy for the 49ers. You know who I'm talking about, though.
Harbaugh?
I'll be right back, Bill.
Harbaugh?
No, not Harbaugh. Hold on, I'll be back. Now. Okay, Jim Tomsula was who I was thinking of. You got rid of Jim Tomsula, blamed it on him. Then you said, oh, let's get Chip Kelly. You blamed it on him. Now you want to turn the page. Before that, you ran Jim Harbaugh out of town like he was the bane of your existence, that he was bringing the bubonic plague if he stayed there. No, you're a bunch of fucking morons. The owner is a fucking moron for the 49ers. You had a championship culture for decades, and now you're just trying to get rid of it. You have no one to blame but yourself. You need to give your team time. You need the team to rebuild and find consistency, because if there is no consistency, you're pretty much just trying to hit the bullseye on a dartboard blindfolded. Good luck with that.
Right.
You're trying to hope for a miracle at that point.
Exactly.
Anyway, Bill, what?
I was gonna say I totally agree with your award, though.
So yeah, spoiler alert: when we get to our awards this at the end of the season, they are my worst organization by far. Anyway, Bill, my hope for the playoffs is that I hope the Packers just get destroyed by the Cowboys. I really want a Packers-Cowboys rematch, because everyone's like, oh, Packers fans like, oh, we could beat anybody, even the Cowboys. Oh, I would love nothing more than the Cowboys. Now, you know I'm not happy for the Prescott-led era, because I think it belonged to Romo, but I don't care who it is. I want the Cowboys to put up 50 points against the Packers, and the Packers only score 21 in garbage time in a futile comeback effort. And it ends in an Aaron Rodgers interception. I would love nothing more than that.
Oh,
and then I could tell Packers fans, RELAX. They could tell me, oh, we still made the playoffs. Well, guess what? You got escorted out of the playoffs so easily. It was so humiliating. You practically weren't even in the game in the third and fourth quarter, because that's how bad you got wiped off the map.
Oh, man.
I would want nothing more than that. But you know what's also good? I would love if the Giants just steal this one from Lambeau, because they did it the last time they won the Super Bowl, so hey, you never know. But I don't want the Giants to win. That's the only... So, Bill, are you ready for the playoff edition of the Picks?
Indeed.
Start with Saturday Night Football.
Saturday, the game on ESPN, the Oakland Raiders at the Houston Texans.
It's also going to be on ABC, which I still want to know, why aren't Monday Night Football games on ABC? Because nobody watches any shows on ABC. ABC sucks now. So just put football on there and you'll get more ratings. But other than that, I'm going to go with the Raiders, because I don't think the Texans can win. They're going to find a way to lose, because I don't believe in this team anymore. And I am getting closer and closer, Bill, to just saying I want to remove the Texans from my favorite teams list, because I can't stand watching this garbage, infuriating way of playing the game.
See, I feel that the Raiders lost their identity with Derek Carr, and they haven't looked the same without him. So I'm picking the Texans. I feel like Savage will play in this game.
I feel like Osweiler will, because Bill O'Brien wants that money's worth.
I mean, you never know. But, the Raiders' defense is not good. And I think, Brock Osweiler can beat a very pedestrian Raiders defense.
We'll see, Bill. I mean, I just say put Khalil Mack against the right side, and he's going to get 10 sacks.
All right, so here we go. The NBC game on Saturday Night Football. The Detroit Lions at the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh boy, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks, because I think this defense will just shut up the Lions offense for a bit, and it's going to be all the time they need to win the game. This game I think will be a little bit closer, but I'm going to go 27-17 is my final score.
And I've got the Lions. And now the Seattle Seahawks nearly lost to a 1-14 San Francisco 49ers team. Their defense did not come out to play. They were in too close of a game against a team that had nothing to play for. You know, and the Lions offense is 10,000 times better than the 49er offense is. And and the greatest strength of the Seahawks is was their running game, and they don't have a running game this year, so that offense is a little bit more tame. So I will say the Lions will win in a very close 23-20 game. All right, so the Sunday games. The Miami Dolphins at the Pittsburgh
You
Steelers.
know, I think this is going to be a better game than people think. Even with Matt Moore, I think this will be a sneaky good game because I think that the Dolphins front seven will at least keep Big Ben in check a little bit. And I see this game being like a 24-20 type of game. I've got the Steelers winning in a pretty fun little win for them.
I also have the Steelers winning. I think it's going to be a really close game as well. But I think the Steelers have just more on offense than the Dolphins do, by far. And the last game of the week is the New York Giants at the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going to go with the Packers because of two reasons. They're the home team, and then the Giants. I don't trust Eli Manning. He has a decaying arm, and also they are a completely different team on the road than they are at home. I'm going to go with the Packers because I want them to have their rematch with the Cowboys to get blown out the week after.
And I've got the New York Giants shutting out the Green Bay Packers because I'm sick and tired of the Packers in the playoffs. They need to be one and done.
Yeah, well, Bill, if that happens, I want to go tell every Packers fan to RELAX.
Oh man, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of the Packers. I don't want to see them win at all.
Yeah, that's
Just
fine.
flat out.
We'll see, though. It's because if any team can beat the Cowboys in the playoffs, it's going to be the Giants.
Well,
They're the only team I could see do it in the NFC.
in in my scenario, I've got the Lions going to play the Cowboys and the Giants playing the
I
Falcons.
have the Raiders going to the Patriots. Ha ha ha! Rip. And then the
Well,
Steelers going to the Chiefs.
I mine is my Steelers would be playing the Patriots, and then the Chiefs would be playing the Texans.
Oh God! Either way, it looks like because there's the Raiders and the Texans the same group, one of them is going to play and get blown out by in the next round. Anyway, I think that'll do it. I think we'll see you guys in the divisional playoff round.